So I'm a big fan of guiding sales to a price, not giving them all the stuff that went into how that price came up with. I mean, they need to understand it conceptually, but they don't need to understand every last little bit. So I don't like showing them other deals. I don't like showing them competitive data, because that's always problematic, not on a sort of deal-by-deal basis. You give them a price target, a corridor. If they feel like they need to offer a lower price, that's totally fine. Those corridors are not perfect. And then it should go up for approval, and they should justify why they need it to their management team. Yeah. Off you go, right? And that should be the mindset. But it's certainly not throw lots of data at them that they were not hired as analysts, right? Salespeople are not hired for their financial acumen. They're hired for driving sales, driving process, being good at relationships, understanding the product. They're not hired for being financial whizzes on pricing.
How about historical data? Are you for showing
historical data for that customer? Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that's fine. Yeah. But not stuff that requires them to do lots of analysis on the whole. But historical data, yes, because if you're going to lower and raise the prices, then what they sold to them before is really important. Yeah, it's a good catch, actually. Yeah, so oftentimes we're trying to get to a profit proxy in terms of a deal score. That's where the realization thing comes in. So a very simple screen, I think, works for this. You are really trying to estimate profit and loss before the deal's done, but you don't need to show them those numbers. You can show them the deal quality. And this is showing a bit how the different product segments we had before might play out in terms of the list price and the floor price. So this is a high differentiation, high margin product. So there's a bit of a price spread, but at the end of the day, for the pull products, for the push products, it's much bigger. And then for these other products, we just don't have the room to play. When you have very low margin products, oftentimes you don't even have negotiation, right? It's just a standard price because you just have no margin to discount it. So don't. What information to give sales? So I touched on this a little bit, right? So what information to give them is customized pocket price target, price realization score, things like suggestions and cross-sell. I would say historical prices. I'll add that one. Makes a lot of sense. I'd be careful with generic dashboards that give them lots of other information. They will tend not to use it. Even if their management thinks they need it, they will tend not to. Margin information is risky, and detailed approval level info. You don't necessarily need to tell them. You need to tell them it needs approval, but not exactly why, because you want to avoid that thing where all the deals group right above the target. They'll play around with it anyway, but don't make it easy. Yeah. If they think the deal should be offered, they should stand up for their convictions and justify it to their management. One of the things you always find when you put in approvals, especially when it's been done loosey-goosey, is that first round, there's lots of stuff comes through that scares management because it's too much work for management. But salespeople are very quick at learning when it's not going to work. So the number goes way down, and it sends a good message. These types of deals will not go through, right? And eventually they learn that if they have a tiny deal with a ridiculously low price, no, it's not going to get approval, so don't. So they'll stop submitting it, and it changes behavior, and that's what you want. That's exactly what you want. But it does make the change management tricky. Sales incentives, price realization score is a good way to do this. Or you can do multipliers for high margin products, or multipliers, the analogy might be frequent flyer miles. So if you fly in business class, they give you 150%. If you fly in first class, they give you 200% of miles. Same type of scheme for sales reps. It's a nice, simple scheme they can get their heads around, right? Or you can do something on a price realization score, which is a bit more complicated, or specific activities. Sequencing, you've got to be very careful when you mess with sales teams' incentives, their bonuses, right? Because it's their money in their pocket, and they have a big variable oftentimes. So I'm a big fan of, first off, you just show them the information in a sales team, and they'll make fun of the guy who's performed poorly. And sales guys hate that. I'm speaking, and why is it always guys? Sales gals hate that. Sorry. Salespeople hate that. So that gets you awareness, and then you make it a spiff, so you make it an add-on, and only after you've done that do you bake it into the true thing. So it's like a 2-year cycle there to get all of that stuff in, I think, on the whole, is the way I would recommend to do it.